So this week we are going to make some cannons. Now the reason I've switched over to the cannons, this is actually stage 18, which I think is booklet number 4. The reason we've switched over is I am genuinely having problems with the hull planking. So I want to work on something else that's equally productive in the final model. But that will then just give me more time to research. So the parts that we're going to need for this, we're going to make 10 in total. I'll make one on camera at normal speed explaining what I'm doing, and then I'll do the remaining 9 all speeded up. So the the first parts that we need is piece 40A. Now I've brought this ruler in and the white paper so that it focuses. So there where my thumb is piece 40A, there's 40B, 41A which is one of the sides, and 41B which is the other side. You will also need some brass rod. Now, whoops, sorry, I just dropped a piece. I just want to make sure it's, yeah, okay. This is 0.8 mil, and I did check because there's lots of bits of brass, so you can see there that's about 0.8 mil, and it's 30 centimeters long. You're going to need 20 pieces, 20 millimeters long, so I make that 400 millimeters. So you're actually going to need 2 rods, but you're going to have 20 centimeters left over. There are some other parts that you will need, but I don't think we're going to use them in this video. Oh, you're also going to need the wheels, which, as you can see, I've not. I mean, these things are tiny. It's what they're about 3 or 4 mil across. So there, I'm going to work on those later. So what I've also got is a piece of tissue. I think it's going to be easier if I dab the glue straight on, but I want to keep control. I only want to just have a tiny amount each time. So the tactic I'm going to employ with the glue, just make sure the glue works first, shall we? Because sometimes this dries in the head. Right, okay, I think I'm going to have to stop the video and unblock the glue. But the tactic is to yeah, that's all blocked, look, is to squeeze a little bit out, and then we can just touch it, and then when we want to glue it we can control it. So I'm going to unblock this and then we will carry on. Okay, so my apologies for that. We have now got a unblocked glue bottle. I suppose the lesson there is that if you're going to make or try to make videos for the benefit of others, try to make sure your equipment works first. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to get this piece 40A. I really need a piece of paper. Actually, I've got a very wonderful piece of white plastic. That should do the job really well. Right, so we're going to get this piece 40A. Now notice that it's got a smaller side and a longer side. It's not a lot in it. It is noticeable, but only just. So if we measure one side, that's about 5 mil ish, and the other side is about 5.5. So it's got a slight curve on it, a slight slope. Now we're going to get this piece, which is 40B. Now I will say that they supply 11 of every piece, but they only supply, you only need to make 10 cannons. And you only get 10 cannon barrels, so because you've got 11 pieces of these, you don't need to over panic if you get one wrong, but don't get more than one wrong. So that's gonna, this is the only awkward bit. That's going to glue onto the back of there. The instructions aren't the most clear, because I thought it would make more sense to glue it there. However, if you get the next piece, which is this way round, you can see that this piece is slightly, actually that's on the wrong way. No, that was on the correct way. So you see that that's ever so slightly longer. Again, I'm really sorry about the focus, having to bring it in and out. So you can see that that piece is slightly longer. So, and that extra length is to accommodate the width there. So we'll start off by gluing this. So I'm going to get a little tiny dab of glue. If we find, oh god, you know, after all of that, there we go. So just a tiny dab. We don't need much more. You see, like, hardly any. We're just going to touch that. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it in one of my Hermione, I think it was my Hermione videos. Someone's told me that you can use PVA glue instead of wood glue. I haven't put it to the test yet. I'd be interested to know if any of you guys have. So that's gone on like that. I have cleaned all these pieces up, by the way. I think it's important that you make sure the pieces are sorted out. Now, what I've noticed from the instructions, it doesn't matter in overall, but if you look, these are actually identical. These are two separate pieces. However, if you see there that they are different, there's a left and a right side. So in actual fact, I don't believe it matters if you put them on this way round or you put them on that way round. However, the instructions show that the lines are actually on the outside. What the significance is, I don't know, but we're going to glue them on like that. We'll keep that on the outside. Now here's where I have a bit of a problem. It seems to stick them on like that, level. Sorry, I really am sorry, we've got really bad focus here. I'm trying to bring something white in. So there we go, it seems to stick it on like that. But if you do that, these side pieces have got two little grooves. It's best to demonstrate with the rod, and that's where the wheels are going to go. So I'm going to glue these on ever so slightly lower, and I wonder actually if I got another piece of this might work really well actually. So if I glued that level with the second piece of wood, I think that would work rather well. I think that's too thick. Right, okay, so we'll come up with another plan. So I'll tell you what, as we have 11, let's go for it, shall we? Let's go for it by eye. Now obviously what would be better, obviously I've stuck this back bit on. What I would actually rather do is stick all 10 pieces on, then come back and do these sides, and that will give you a little bit more drying time. So there we go. So I've stuck that on. I like that. There we go. So I've done it actually so that the hole in the side is pretty much level with the what is now floor, and that's given us just a tiny gap at the bottom like so, and then we can now do the other side. As I say, if you stick one piece on and then do the remaining 9, by the time you come back this would have stuck a little bit, so it'll be a lot easier to work with. If I apply too much pressure I could actually just pull this off. So, and I don't want that, do I? So again, I do love this wood glue because you do have working time. So look, I can just slide that about a little bit, and you know, I'm going to get my rod. See, if I actually push that in a bit. See, this hasn't stuck too well yet. So that is my first piece of cannon. Come on, focus. So it doesn't look an awful lot yet, but I'll tell you what we'll do. Let us get... This is all very colourless, but this is going to go on, I think, that way round. So that's what our first cannon will look like. Obviously there will be some wheels on there, and when we've done all of these we'll work on the wheels. So I'm going to get on with the rest of them, and then once I've done that I will I'll start on the wheels. I'm not sure if I like that. It doesn't seem to want to sit flat, does it? So I'm trying to do this on camera. There we go. That's much better. So use your work surface to help as well. See if I can find anything useful. A flat edge, a ruler, just to line those up. So maybe it's not wise to a slight angle. So I think I might actually make 11 of these up. Then I can discard the worst one then, can't I? Okay guys, so I'm going to get on with the next 9, and then yeah, hopefully we'll have some 10 really good cannons. I'm going to do 2 cannons and then I'll do the rest quickly. The reason I'm going to do 2 is the method they've shown us I think is a little bit wasteful, but I want to follow it along. It might actually be the best way to do it. So we have our cannons, which we've done so far, and some of them have come out a little bit funny, some of them have come out perfect. That's my skill level more than anything. This one's a little bit off center, but to be honest with you, given the scale of them, given the fact that these would have been handmade, I'm alright with that. So, but what I've done now, we want piece number 43. These are going to be the wheels, and as you can see they've given us enough to make 11, just like they did with the other pieces. You see I've got 2 pieces there a piece there and a piece there, so I can always make an 11th cannon if I want. I've only got 10 gun barrels, but I've got enough to make 11 of these bits. So what we want is our 0.8mm rod, and I've cut two 20mm rods out. I measured the first one, and then all I did was I just got, for the second one, I took the first rod, I placed it along like that, and then I just cut there. So I've ended up with two 20mm pieces, and this is where I think it's quite wasteful, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sticking these two rods on here like so, and that's not going to go. There is also a stage just to run a file along there just to reinforce that channel, but I don't think I need it on most of these. So we'll stick this on, then what we'll do is we'll pop a wheel on, and then we'll pop another wheel on as a spacer, and we'll cut the excess off. Then we take that first wheel off, and that will give us the exact spacing that we need. So we're going to end up with a wheel that will look something like that. You see there's a little bit of rod sticking out, and that's where I think it's quite wasteful, because what I think we need to be doing is filing this rod down, place on two wheels like so, glue that second one in, then we can remove this first one, so that will leave us with that. Then what we can do is we can glue that rod onto there like so. We can then place two wheels on this side and then trim it there, and that will give us a rod that's going to be roughly that long, which is actually going to be about 14mm. So that's going to save us 6mm each rod. So I think then we'll get the whole lot done in one rod. We're only talking small amounts, but I think it might even be easier. So let's do the first one. So because we're using a wheel as a spacer, we're going to need 6 wheels, not 4. 4 will end up on the cannon and 2 will be used as spacers. So let's start off with super glue, and I'm using my good super glue because it's quite thick. There's a lot more control, so we'll just get a tiny dab, one there and one there. And it does say to do this precisely, but I think we're smart enough to do this by eye, aren't we? So there we go, that's not in place. There we go. So that should take, I've actually done that a little bit off center, but I think that's going to be fine. And then what we'll do is we'll stick the second one on, and then we'll just give that a minute or two to dry. I just need a bit of waste. I've got, my blob of glue has got a little bit too big, and we're in danger of losing control on that one. So tiny dab, tiny dab. So am I still in camera? Yes I am. Then we take this rod and there we are. So this is going to be the spokes of the two wheels. Whoops. And we'll just give that a minute or two to dry. Cool, that's very off center, isn't it? So we'll do a dry fit on the wheels. So I'll put 2 wheels on, and then what we'll do is we'll trim that excess off there. See, there's a little bit of excess there, and we'll trim that off, and then what we'll be left with is about that much, and then that will be the exact amount that we need. We could actually glue this on as well if we wanted to, but I'm going to save it. So 2 wheels on. In fact, actually doing it this way, we only needed 5 wheels, not 6. So there we go. Right, so that's one cut. Right, so I get my file, what we want to do is just a quick rub over the ends. That glue's not quite dry. Right, so what I then want to do is I'm going to pop a tiny dab on. Again, I'm running that one out of control. Get that right in the corner, and then these wheels aren't going to move. They're gonna be fixed, but obviously they'll give the impression they're rounded, and they're gonna move. And right, that is one wheel complete. And if we give that a minute or two, this glue I find takes about 10 seconds to dry, which it has done there. So that is one wheel complete. I'm sorry if you, there we go, that's a good view there, isn't it? Let's use a bit of backing paper. Right, so don't worry about any little tiny dabs of glue, as long as that wheel is round, because we're going to paint over this in the end. But let's give that a little test now that glue's dry. There should be no metal protruding. There is actually a tiny bit, but not enough to worry about. So basically you've got one wheel width showing beyond the wheel. So what I will do is I will get on with the rest of that one, so that I finish up the cannon, or the cannon wheels, and then we'll do the second one, what I'm going to call my method, which is we're going to glue we're going to glue a wheel onto the end of this. We're then going to stick this whole lot onto the cannon. We're then going to put two wheels down this end, and we'll measure it, and I think that'll save us quite a few little trimmings. So right, I will get on with that then. Okay, so I have finished 4 of the wheels. Let's see if I can get you a good view a little bit closer. Let's get a clean piece of white paper. I'm using toilet tissue, but it does the job. So that's the finished wheels. Obviously it doesn't look good because it's not painted, but the distance that protrudes is exactly one width of a wheel. Now what I actually found out, I think it was on the 4th wheel, it's actually, rather than trying to put a dab of glue on the corner, pop a little dab of glue onto a piece of paper or something, take your wheel, practice first, and figure out which end is going to be making contact with the actual cart bit. Touch the glue on the bit that will make contact. You can then push the wheel on and then push down with the tweezers, and then that's going to be a lot easier and less messy. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the second one using a method that I think is going to be less wasteful, and possibly a lot more efficient. Slightly awkward, but it will get less awkward as we do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop on both wheels. Let's just tidy up this end first. Right, so what I want to do is put on both wheels. I've not actually cut the rest of the wheels off yet. Right, and then what we want to do is put a dab of glue in that corner to stick that first wheel down. And then once that starts to stick, this may not actually work. I'm not sure if it's going to actually. Right, and then we can take that wheel off. Once that's dry, what we can then do is get another wheel ready, because we're going to need one more wheel than we're actually working with. So while that's drying, I'll just chop off another wheel. And these are ever so easy. There's only one contact point, so you just cut that through with a knife, sharp knife, well, thin knife, push it out, and then just file that little end off. Right, so what we need to do now, make sure that's stuck on, which it is, make sure our gap is still correct, which it is, and then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue that on. Dab. We are going to have to dab this on, so you can see where it's awkward dealing with this much rod. However, give that about 10 seconds, maybe longer if you want. See, it's alright for me because I can find things to do while I'm waiting. So right, that's fine. So what we want to do now is dab a piece of glue on the top corner. Then we'll put that rod on. Obviously I'm running the risk of getting glue on the rod, which we don't want. Right. That's on. So then we put the next wheel on. Which I can't control the end. There we go. So that wheel which we're using as spacer is now on, and then I can trim that end. There you go, and then I can remove that wheel, give that a little file. So I don't know, which one do you think is the better method? I think there's not a massive difference between the two of them. Let's have a look at what they actually look like. So that's that view from that side, and that's the view from below. Again, it looks a bit odd because it's not been painted. Listen, I prefer that second one, and the reason I prefer the second one is that we get the opportunity to prepare one of the rods before we put it on. So we just file that off. It's a little bit awkward to set that first wheel up, which reminds me, where is that first wheel? There we go. It's a little bit awkward to set that first wheel up because we've got nothing to put it up against. And then obviously it's a little bit awkward sticking it on, but not impossible, because once that wheel is stuck there, then all we need to do is slide that in as close as we can, and then theoretically we can pull that rod back because that wheel will stop. Then we've got to put two wheels on there, one of which we've got to glue down, but obviously as this rod gets shorter and shorter, that'll get easier, and then we're cutting the exact amount off. So let's out of curiosity measure this. I make that 16 to 17 mil, so we're saving about 3 mil, and there should be 20 of those, so we're saving 60 mil. So I think that's probably quite a considerable saving. But just as importantly, when I trim these little tiny ends, I'm only trimming a few mils off, but it's really hard to control that end, and they're pinging off. Now in reality those small pieces are probably somewhere on my desk, and I'm the only one who lives in my particular dwelling, but if you've got small children, especially if they walk, there's one now, there's a, oh no, I've just dropped it, there's a small trimming that I've managed to find. But if you can't find that and you have a child walking around barefoot, you know, so I think there's a small element of safety there. Right, so I'm going to get on and I'm going to finish all of those off, and I'm going to use my second method, I think. Let's just see if that fits. Do you know what, that works, that does actually work. Look at that, I'm rather happy with that. Right, so let's see how this one stands up. obviously it'll stand up alright with one wheel on. But so yeah, I'm going to get on with those using my my second method then. So, I do apologise, I managed to, I'm using this new software and it didn't record properly. It's my fault, not the software. So I have now made a total of 10 cannons. Now for this stage we've just got one more thing to do, and that's this little tiny piece that I have managed to lose. That's how small it is. Right, so there is a tiny piece. I'm going to have to cut another one out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's fine. Oh, here it is. Right, so this is piece 44, and it's really hard to see, but it's basically a small triangle with a wave on the top. And what we're going to do is we're going to stick that there. Now I'm only going to do the one, and I'm going to use super glue, and the reason I'm going to use super glue is because I've already got the super glue out from where I've been doing the other bits. The drawback with super glue is that it's going to stick that much quicker, whereas wood glue will give you more working time, but that I'm happy with. So I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can play with the... I think I've actually turned the webcam software off. So that is it. I'm not going to do the rest on the camera because I've realised how long this is taking. But what we'll do is we'll have a little look at basically what this next stage is to paint it all. Now the cannons, I have had a look at the cannons already. This is one I've prepared, and you may see some shiny bits on it, and that's because there is quite some bad flash on this. So I've actually already just filed it down. So that is incorrect. So that is... No, I had it right the first time, didn't I? So there you go. That is... Is that right? Does that look right? I can't remember. Oh well, and do you know what? I've got no pictures of that. Oh, here we go. So that was actually right the first time. I thought it looked off. There we go. So there's a cannon. Now that is so small. I found that so fiddly. Let's get a ruler that works. That is about 30mm from... In fact, let's get the calipers out. We'll get something a little bit more precise then. So from the longest, look at that, 28, it's 30 centimeters. Look, as near as damn it, that's how long it is. The wheels are, do you know, I love these calipers. 3.6, look, 3.5mm. That's how big the wheels are. So it's so fiddly. Out of the two rods, this is how much I've got left, because I managed to lose a piece of the rod, but 5 cannons will use less than half of this, because like you see, I've extended this as far as I can, and it's as far, there's more rod there. So yeah, that's oops. So yeah, right, so that's it for this week, guys. I've also lost 2 wheels. I did struggle. They keep small bits just fly off. So I'm gonna be just finish those off camera, and then what we'll do is next week we will paint these. I'm really happy with these now. So what's going to happen is these are going to be painted red, and these are going to be painted black, and then we'll just do a little bit of detailing. Right, so thanks for watching guys, and I will hopefully see you all next week.